but all minor tickets are either tribal, so it's up to the officer. If you get just hope, say, if you get caught by a tribal police officer and say, oh, I hope I get a tribal ticket, say that because then it won't affect your driver's license. It won't go into the system because they got their own. When you get caught in the state and give you a state ticket, then it's going to cost you points. But in the tribal ticket, it doesn't. Yeah, so it's a little different. But these are in some areas, not all tribal reservations are like that. So it's a little different. Yeah. In Hopi, we use a lot of the yucca plant. And these are baskets made of sifter baskets, and we clean our corn and the sap out of that. Today they're very intricate before, but it was just all green, and they would put their kernels here and toss it up, and all the sap would fall out. Today you call this design the rain cloud design. As you ever notice on those temples, they got those step-side designs. Some call it the stairway to heaven, but those are what we call the rain cloud design. And you'll see that down there on those temples in Mexico. This can last you a lifetime. Because once it gets aged, the yucca plant will turn green, but the dye will still be there. I got some that goes back all the way to my grandmother's mother. So a lot of our stuff was handed down from one generation to the next in the family. This is the new thing that was also, well, not the new thing, another thing that they did before the board came to us. Rattles out of yucca. So they would bind these together and they would put hoops in there instead of the valves. Today they put valves in there. Yeah, those little valves. But this is one of the things for your little child that you can play with and you can sing to them. This one, how many collect these? In Hopi, this is called ihu. This is one of the sacred dolls that we carve out of cottonwood root, out of the cottonwood tree, and the root is used to carve these out. Today, you can see this throughout a lot of curious shops, a lot of shops, but you got to be beware because in Hopi we never had put a pen in our artwork, so in art world anybody can do this because there's no restriction of it in being made. So we're trying to come up with a pattern where we can say no longer anybody make this. Our neighbors, the Navajo, have a large manufacturing doll making of this. So today in Arizona and throughout America, there is a law of Indian art that the stores got to tell you what is authentic and what is not and what tribe made them. So if you ask the storekeeper saying that is this real Hopi doll, and if you know your art and he says yeah, there was a Navajo doll, you could tell him, hey, I could sue you for lying. Because it's against the law. It's not right. But this doll is painted with natural pigments out of fruits, out of ore dyes and charcoal and juices out of the fruit. So this is the badger. This is how this is also known as the cradle doll. This was placed with the little baby or the little girl would play with. The original ihu would come with legs and arms, but they would be more subtle. Today we still make them in the month of February, so our children and our girls will learn from them. These are our spiritual gods who we say are intermediaries between us and our great Creator. So when they come perform for us, we give them our prayers. They also live in the San Francisco Peaks, and they're known as Katinas. Katinas is the spiritual name of, but each has a first name, like the Badger Katina or Horn Katina is the name of this one. So we still make these, and now a lot of the collectors are collecting the old style with the old pigments. When in the 70s they wanted to make it look real, so then they started using artificial material like yarn and fur, and then making it painting with acrylic. Then in the 80s, then they wanted something more actiony, and then more realistic. So then a lot of carvers went into all one-piece wood, carving the fingers, the feathers, and then using oil-based paint to paint their dolls. And so years change as you watch the collectors want different, and then now today they want the whole style. So this brings the revenue for the tribe. Then you got the old rattle that's out of that, which tells you the migrations. Then I made earrings with the conduit group. So you use a lot of things. Turquoise, you need to know what's real and what's not real. Turquoise is created. It's not a natural rock. You'll find turquoise nearby copper mines, and that's where how turquoise is created, because of the chemicals from the copper and the moisture in the soil, and create that blue rock. Okay, I got about 10 minutes or 9 minutes or so. Yeah, so if you would like to ask me any questions, I'm here to answer any questions you'd like to ask.
Very nice. The dog, you say you make them in February. Why would you make them in February?
February is when we celebrate our New Year, which is like the Orientals. So this is when our Kachina gods come into our villages and then first dance in the kivas. And this is when we also initiate a lot of our young children into their manhood and womanhood. So dolls are still then made for the younger ones. This is their toys until they get to that age. So it's the time, the New Year time in February.
The basket on the left, the other one.
No, this is a drum. I was going to sing to you. You like a song? Yeah. All right. In the morning, like I always say, we always pray. So this is all deer hide and also cottonwood root that we use to make the band out of. Look away. This is our prayer song. Then we celebrate our social dances with boys and girls. And one of them, it's a pretty fast beat, but this is to celebrate our young women who are still young. And the tone is a little different. children were raised in the urban area. Until I moved out here, then I was in the construction business. My trade was diesel mechanic. One day they asked me, this is the month when we celebrate Native American month. So the state of Arizona recognized 23 tribes. So starting this weekend, there's going to be a grand parade through in Phoenix and a lot of activities going through the month of October and part of November. So whenever you're traveling too, you might see some of these activities going up there, like in Grand Canyon or in wherever. You guys know Sedona?
Sedona, Grand Canyon, Mountain Valley, Lake Powell,
Yeah.
Bryce Island.
Each of these tribes will be showing you their culture, either their traditional dance or another well-known as the powwow, which came from the Plains Nation. But in Hopi, a lot of the schools are dancing these social dances and showing each other, how they're rich in their culture. So you might happen to see all this on your travels this week as you go up there.
On your song, is the actual
Words?
words?
Yes. The one I just sang is the one that talks about life. That as we're growing up, that we all unite together and put our hearts together. This is one way of Hopi belief, is that we come together as one because we're one people. That we care for one another, work with one another, share things with one another. And then that we all prosper at the same time, but then also to bring us rain because we're dry farmers. Dry farmers, we plant without irrigation, so everything is dependent on Mother Nature. And today, that's what keeps our song and dances going.
Thank you.
The logo of your jacket, can you explain that?
That's my name at the bottom. Remember my first name? I introduced myself. Yeah. And what color? Gray. Gray rattlesnake. My mother's clan. Sun clan. This is my father's clanmanship, and this is my mother's clanmanship. So this is the Sun clan symbol. This is the snake clan symbol. So I carry my name. So when my grandfather was being counted in the tribe, the United States gave him a new name. And so I carry this country's name today. My last name is Chimerica. Yeah, because they could not spell my grandfather's last name, which is Timelha. Timelha means coming together. Yeah, that's my real last name. So my first name is Masita Timelha. That's my real name. Yeah. A lot of tribes, once the assimilation and once the removal, lost a lot of their names and their ways of their tribal system. Anyone else? Yes?
Will be the Amazon finish?
Okay. That's one question I can answer you right there. During the years of their digging about our ancestry, Anasazi, Hohokam, the Sequoian people, the Fremont people, they're all still here. We're a part of that. These I consider category names. See, in our teaching is this great migration that I talked about earlier, where they branched out. And as you branch out, mankind will change, right? Well, in their pottery, it's very simple in the beginning. I got an old pottery that I show it at my museum, where it's abstract. Then you look at today's pottery, very intricate. Well, that occurred when they were migrating, and as each region spanned out, they started to improve their artwork. But as all these category names are a part of those 7 tribes that migrated from the south. So when they say they disappeared, not necessarily. I'm here. I'm part of that. Yeah. To me, when they ask me that, like yourself, I said, they're not gone. They're part of it. They're just here still yet. It just changed a lot. And those I consider category names. because we take those young ones over there to teach them those rock signs. Yes, ma'am.
How do they take the census?
Pardon?
When they take the census,
Uh-huh.
do they count the in
Yes.
When they
Every year they take their census throughout, or every 5 years I think they take those census just like throughout America, see how many tribes there are. But, you know, we're facing a lot of issues now because of the intermarriages, the interblood system. So with the quantity of blood system in the tribal system brings a lot of problems for our children.
Sorry to bring this time to a close. However, they took notes, so we have a test for all the time. Want to make fun? Feel free to play bars in your own way too. And I will meet you on the morning course. The bathroom there. The bathroom on the other side of the restaurant.
Don't run out of gas here. You'll have to go to the corners of the community, one place or another, to actually even find a gas station. So plan ahead for that one. There's no multi-housing, no common walls, utility lines are underground. They like to keep it spiffy. If you leave on vacation and your yard gets overgrown with weeds, when you come back you'll see that it's all cleaned up. They like it that way. You will get the bill later. Now there's always a catch, isn't there? There's lots of bike paths through here. Now you're going to see on the homes as we go through here, the single level, these are called ranch style homes, single level homes on the left and the right. That is traditionally what we always have had here till probably about 30 years ago. You didn't even see two-story houses here. Now we'll slow down a little bit when we get up this way, John, over this fence here coming up on the right. This is a very exclusive little area called Alice Cooper. He's a steel guitar rock star that many years ago was #1 on the hit parade and went down the path of numerous addictions, turned his life around, went back to the church, and he lives right here, and that was his house just be next to the pink one back there, but his wife and 3 children live here, and he's pretty well dedicated his life now to charity work. His new addiction, when he dropped all the old ones, became golf. And so he does a lot of these celebrity golf tournament things all over the place. He still does perform, but all of his money from the celebrity golf tournaments goes for the benefit of young people, you know, whether it's medical or whether it's homes or all types of institutions that he set up. So he's very involved with that. The building on the left corner here is the Paradise Valley Town Hall, and you can see the dirt if you look back by the windows back there. The dirt is actually packed up on the building, up underneath the edge of the windows. That's a concept they borrowed from the prehistoric Indians that lived here. They were called the Hopi. Those who have gone before, they would pack the dirt up against their dwelling to insulate it. Keeps it cool in the summer, which we're always looking for here, and it keeps it warm in the winter. Now if you look down some of these side streets, you can see some of the nice little cottages that people have here in Paradise. They fit like this. In fact, the biggest problem is keeping them cut back. People use these to privatize their yards. And you can see, and looking through here, it does a really good job of that. You don't have a clue what's on the other side. The downside is the leaves are a little bit toxic to animals. Kids too, if you chew on them. I tried that, don't do that. But they also collect a lot of dust and pollen, so you wouldn't want to plant these close by your house by the bedroom windows, say, for instance. Now we also have the mesquite tree, which if you look on the left right here, that big dark tree right there, that's a big mesquite tree, that's indigenous. You'll see another one right here coming up on the right. It's got that very dark trunk to it. I'll show you some more up close. There's 2 trees that you'll see a lot of here, and we'll be in another area where I'll point them out to you. The mountain on the right over here is Camelback Mountain. Camelback. And it's called that. When we get around to the front side, we'll be circling around to it. It's a side view of a camel down on his haunches. It doesn't look like that at all from back here, but when we get to the next corner coming up here, the street that goes up to the foothills of Camelback Mountain here, we'll see sometimes down here on the sidewalk, I'm sure with weather like this, there's people up there hiking. We'll oftentimes see people coming up the walkway at this next corner up here. This heads to the trailhead, and we'll be able to look up there oftentimes and see, you'll see little specks up there. That's folks that are up there hiking. Up here comes a guy around the corner, he probably ran it. And you go up the street here, and in a minute, if you look up on there, all these folks have either been up or going up. They park down here, and you'll see little specks, their shirts, little white specks up there. There's a trail that goes all the way up to the top. I can see 3 or 4 right now from here. Yeah, you get a great view from up there. Come over here to do their daily constitutional. It's a bit of a hefty hike. Yeah, these folks here with the cars on the right part here are all parked here. You can't park up in the residential area, so they park down here so they can take their hike up there. In the mornings they do it about 5 because it's so hot. This time of year it's getting perfect and they'll do it all day long. The resort that you're seeing on the right-hand side over here, this is the golf course part of it. This is called the Phoenician Resort. This is one of our 5-star 4-diamond properties. We'll get a peek in through here now as you look back up into that area. And the Phoenician was developed and built by a gentleman who was in the newspapers big time, I don't know, maybe 20 years ago. Little deja vu with the financial situation that's going on in the nation right now. The gentleman that developed and built that property had 2 businesses he was involved in. One was a developer, and the other was, and his name is in the newspapers big time for this, his other business was savings and loans. His name was Charles Keating, and he was the fellow accused, the Keating, and our Senator John McCain was involved in, well, word about him. Of course, there's a lot of money they haven't found too, so. Now, as we've come around, back around, we're on Camelback Road here, we'll look at the front side of the camel. This is like a side view. In a minute we'll get a better view. It's like he's down on his haunches. The highest peak up there is his biggest hump, and then his long neck goes forward. There's a big slope down, and in a minute you'll see where his head starts at. We have to get a little bit farther up the road to see it. Now this is the main entrance right here into the Phoenician Resort that we're going by right here. It's a stunningly beautiful property. The golf course is for the Phoenician Resort, for their guests. Now golf is a very big part of our economy down here because of our climate. We get people that come here all winter long from all over the world to play golf. So we've probably got 130 plus golf courses just here in the valley, the Metropolitan Valley area. And in the winter time, of course, that's when we get our big tourist season starting right about now is the perfect time to come out because of our climate. People can, again, you can build up on the edges here. Most of these homes are older, or we're going to actually kind of sneak up on a little part of the mountain here. I'll have John turn up at this next light, and we can kind of nosy around up there. We'll get a good view of the valley, too. We'll get a little bit of an elevation there. But it's pricey up here. You have to bring your own water up. You'll have to blast out a site now this is a granite mountain. Camelback Mountain is mostly granite. You're going to have to blast out a site to build your home on. Bring your own water up. So, and now since they have prohibited any building farther up on the mountain, if you see new houses, they've probably bought an old property, demolished it, and then built on that property. Now if we slow up a teeny bit here, John, as we're going along the little road up here, again, you're going to see the oleander. This is vegetation. A lot of people walk and climb here too. They like to do this for their exercise. Now coming up here on the right, this big tree right here, the kind of a filmy looking one, This is Palo Verde. We'll see some more of them. Here's a couple little ones coming up on the right. They're young ones. And Palo Verde in Spanish means the green stick. Palo means stick, verde is green. We have a lot of Spanish influence here in Arizona with names of places and things. They call it that. Actually, the trunk of the tree, when it's green, helps carry on the process of photosynthesis. So that's very different from most of the vegetation that you will see, specifically trees. That is very rare. But it can exist here without any additional water. They get out in the summer, yellow blooms all over them. It looks like a big yellow lacy tablecloth. Here's a good example of a big one right here on the right. You can see how green the trunk of the tree is and all of the branches. And you'll see lots and lots of those because they're very hardy. There's different varieties of them. Some will look slightly different, but they all have that greenish costume and they all get the yellow blooms on them. The other tree that's very prominent here is the mesquite tree. And I had pointed a couple of those out. They have a very dark wood. Several varieties. Some are smoother bark and some are very gnarly. As we get up to this next driveway coming up here on the left, there's a good example of a mesquite tree. Right coming past the driveway here. This big tree right here on the left. That's a mesquite tree. No, on the left. Your other left. This left. You just missed it. We'll try that again. No, that was a Palo Verde tree. Yellow. The seeds, they both get seeds on them. Now as we round the bend here, you'll see some little baby Palo Verdes. They just planted these on the right side. Both the mesquite and the Palo Verde get a seed, a bean on them. And it will dry up and drop off in the summertime. Native Americans would grind those up. Yeah, and they'd grind them up to make, to supplement their diet with. Okay, we'll find a little spot. We're just going to kind of cuddle up here for a couple minutes here and let you get your bearings. So we actually are a valley, completely pretty well surrounded by mountains. They refer to this as the Greater Metropolitan Valley area. Phoenix is the capital, but there's 25 communities in the valley. Phoenix, of course, is the largest as the capital. Scottsdale is one, Paradise Valley is one, all these other little ones. As you look out across to the left over there, you'll see some little mountains peeking up right here close to us. In fact, there's an airplane about to fly across over the top. That's called the Papago Buttes. Papagos are one of the tribes that are here in this area. That is a huge city park. They've got the Phoenix Botanical Gardens is located there. The zoo, the Phoenix Zoo, is located there. They have hiking, biking, golf courses, all kinds of activities for people to enjoy. Now, if you look all the way across the valley to the left over there, you see that mountain range down on that end. It's called the South Mountains. That's the south end of the valley. If you let your eyes wander around towards the front of the bus at about 10 o'clock over there on the left-hand side, you can see a bunch of high-rise buildings out there in the distance. That's Phoenix. That's downtown Phoenix area, the capital, down over here to the left if you look through the windows over there. We'll be going through that. Then if you let your eyes come almost to the center and forward, there's a second section, a separate section of high-rise buildings. It's kind of separated from the downtown area. This is referred to as the financial district, and we'll be going through that. It's right in the middle of Phoenix as we meander on down that way. Yeah, and it is, that's like, smog down there. As I grew up here, I never thought I would see that. I left California. I moved over there and came back here to get away from the smog. So I guess it followed me over here, but most of us could not have dreamed that have been here for years that was ever actually going to show up past them. It blends right in with the mountain because it's actually made from rock blasted from the mountain, so it matches it perfectly. It's on the market if you're looking for a place. $350 million. Yeah, and it's a fix-up. It is a fix-up. So you probably have to put a couple more into it. He was a dentist here in town, and used to have wild parties up there. He was part of the Finney Ski Club. I used to be a member of that too, but it has a big 23-person jacuzzi. It's got a dungeon. It's got a drawbridge. Of course, it's got a wine cellar and all the secret passages. So it's kind of an interesting place. You'll be able to see this mountain from the freeway all the way across the valley because we're elevated. And you'll be able to see the shape of the camel from the side much easier. It's an instance where when you're so up close to something, sometimes you really can't see the image. But we do have our most famous landmark coming about in front of us on Camelback Mountain. As we come up, this is his nose, which looks like nothing if we look straight on. But in a minute, you're going to see. Nope, still a little farther. A little farther. Now he's not called the man. Okay. Look over and look on the left-hand side. Go about halfway down the mountain on the left-hand side. You'll start to see an image. It almost looks like a thumb on the mountain. It's actually called, there he is on the left side of the mountain, the praying monk. He's on his knees. He's on his knees facing the mountain. Kind of got a hunchback on the back of his back. Okay, looking at the mountain. Yeah, he sticks out like a sore thumb right now. He really does. And he is, of course, famous because he's great at sunset and sunrise. If you've got a house around here for sale on the market, and from your backyard by the swimming pool, you've got a view at sunset and sunrise of the praying monk, when your guests are there for cocktails or what.